Welcome to the Monsters Among Us podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 16, the Lonnie Zamora Incident.
Today we're looking at a really classic case.
Absolutely. We're diving into that alleged UFO sighting back on April 24th, 1964. This happened near Socorro, New Mexico.
Right, involving Socorro police officer Lonnie Zamora. And what makes it stand out, really, is where it starts.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We've got all the reports here, the witness statements. Our goal really is to unpack why this one sticks around, especially focusing on the physical stuff left behind.
Exactly. It grabs you because the first report wasn't just, some light way up high. It was about something potentially on the ground.
Yeah, Zamora's initial call wasn't about aliens or anything. He radioed in about a possible car crash, right?
Yeah.
Said he's going to check it out down in Arroyo.
Just routine police work, seemingly, but then very quickly things changed.
Right. So he makes that first call. Then what happens? He gets back on the radio pretty soon after.
He does. He asks dispatch if they can see anything from where they are, describes an object, says it's like a balloon.
Like a balloon.
Yeah.
Okay, already shifting from a car crash.
Definitely. And crucially, he asks for New Mexico State Police Sergeant Chavez to come meet him there. Even then, he's looking for backup corroboration.
Which is interesting in itself. He wants someone else to see this.
And when Sergeant Chavez gets there, well, it's not a car wreck.
No. What do they find instead? This is where the physical traces start coming in, right?
That's right. Chavez arrives, and he sees burning brush right where Zamora pointed.
Burning brush, okay.
And it wasn't just Chavez. As more officers showed up a bit later, they also noted these patches of, smoldering grass and brush nearby.
So multiple officers are seeing actual, tangible evidence on the ground.
Yeah.
Scorched earth, basically.
Precisely. And these marks, this burnt vegetation, it becomes, a central piece of the puzzle.
Okay, let's back up slightly, though. How did Zamora even end up in that specific spot? You said he was investigating a potential crash, but what led him there?
Well, according to his report, he was actually chasing a speeding car heading south out of Socorro.
Okay, so involved in something else entirely.
Completely. And during that chase, he hears this really loud roar and then sees a flame in the sky off to the southwest. He figured it was maybe half a mile to a mile away.
A roar and a flame. That's definitely going to get your attention, even during a pursuit. What did he think it was initially?
His first thought, apparently, was that the local dynamite shack might have blown up. It was a known structure in the area.
Ah, okay. So concern for safety, a possible explosion. Makes sense he'd break off the chase.
Exactly. That concern is what made him stop chasing the speeder and go investigate the noise and the flame instead.
And that decision leads him right to, well, not the dynamite shack.
Not at all. His detailed statement says, as he got closer, driving up a rough hill, he saw this shiny object about 150, maybe 200 yards away.
Shiny object. His first impression.
He thought it was an overturned white car, maybe, because of the shape and color against the background.
But it wasn't a car. What did he say it looked like up close?
He described it as whitish, like aluminum, but not shiny like chrome, and very distinctly shaped like an O or an egg, standing on end, sort of.
O-shape?
Yeah.
Standing on end, that's specific. And wasn't there something else? About figures.
Yes, this is another really odd detail. He said he briefly saw two figures beside the object, dressed in white overalls.
Like overalls.
He described them as looking normal in shape, but maybe small adults or large kids. It was a quick glimpse.
Wow. Okay, so an O-shaped craft and small figures in white.
Yeah.
And then things escalated.
They did. He gets out of his car, starts walking closer, and then hears another extremely loud roar. Much louder this time.
Louder than the first one.
Apparently so. And he sees this flame shoot out from underneath the object. Blue, then turning orange.
A flame underneath. Like propulsion.
That's certainly the implication. Right after that, the object lifted off the ground, rose up, cleared the dynamite shack nearby, and then just took off, moved away incredibly fast and silently after the initial roar stopped.
Okay, so that's Zamora's account. Astonishing. But let's circle back hard now to the physical evidence. What was actually left there after this thing took off?
Well, like we mentioned, Sergeant Chavez got there quickly. He saw the burning brush.
Right.
And then other officers arrived. An FBI agent eventually came too. They all observed these specific areas where the ground vegetation was, smoldering or clearly burnt.
So it wasn't just Zamora saying it landed here. There were actual marks. Were they consistent with his description, like where the object might have been?
That's the key part. The locations of the burn patches and also some indentations or marks found in the ground seem to correspond with where Zamora said the object had rested and where the flame had come from.
Indentations, too, like landing gear marks.
Yes, there were reports of 4 distinct landing gear marks or impressions found in the ground, arranged in a sort of quadrilateral pattern.
Along
The burnt areas.
And multiple trained observers confirmed this. Police officers, FBI.
Yeah.
That's significant, isn't it? It elevates it beyond just one person's potentially subjective experience.
Absolutely. When you have multiple witnesses, especially law enforcement officers trained in observation, confirming physical anomalies at the scene, well, it makes it much harder to dismiss. It points to something physically interacting with that environment.
So you have this compelling testimony backed by physical traces seen by several people. What did the official investigation, the Air Force, make of all that?
Ah, yes, Project Blue Book. They investigated the Zamora case quite thoroughly, actually, sent investigators down there.
And their conclusion? Did they figure out what it was? A secret aircraft? Weather phenomenon?
Well, no. Despite looking into various possibilities, they couldn't identify a known aircraft or natural phenomenon that matched Zamora's description and explained the physical evidence.
Cool.
So the official classification for the Lonnie Zamora incident in the Project Blue Book files is unknown.
Unknown, which basically means they couldn't explain it away.
Pretty much. They couldn't debunk it based on the evidence they gathered.
Of course, an unknown finding always invites other explanations, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People try to fill the gap.
Oh, definitely. Over the years, various conventional explanations have been proposed. Some wondered if it was maybe an experimental lunar lander being tested secretly out of White Sands missile range, which isn't that far away.
Okay, a secret test vehicle. Plausible, maybe?
Potentially, though details never matched up perfectly and there was no confirmation, then you had more skeptical takes. One prominent skeptic suggested it might have been a complex mirage of the star Canopus.
A mirage. Causing burning bushes and ground indentations. That seems...
Like a stretch. Yes, that explanation had trouble accounting for the physical traces. It mostly focused on the visual description.
Were there, like, hoax theories, too?
Oh, yes. Always hoax theories. Some suggested students from the nearby New Mexico Tech campus might have pulled an elaborate prank.
How elaborate? We're talking landing marks and burning bushes.
Well, one idea floated by a skeptic, even mentioned by the tech president at the time, was maybe something simple, like a candle inside another balloon.
A candle in a balloon causing that roar and those marks.
Doesn't quite seem to fit the scale, does it? There was even a theory about, a local government conspiracy to drum up tourism later on.
Right, because the site did become a bit of a tourist spot eventually, didn't it?
It did. A few years later, in '66, the local Chamber of Commerce developed the area slightly, put in some walkways. Though, interestingly, the marker they put up is actually about a quarter-mile from the real reported landing site, supposedly due to lingering radioactivity rumors at the time.
Radioactivity rumors. Okay, that adds another layer.
But getting back to the core evidence, you have this range of explanations, from secret tech to mirages to pranks.
But none of them seem to perfectly explain everything, especially those physical marks, the burns, the indentations seen by multiple officers.
Exactly. Eyewitness accounts can be debated, perceptions can differ, but physical evidence, that's harder to argue with. The challenge has always been definitively linking those specific marks to a known cause, whether it's Zamora's object or something else entirely.
So wrapping this up, we're left with Officer Zamora's very detailed, seemingly credible report. We have corroboration from other officers about physical disturbances at the scene.
Burned vegetation, ground markings, tangible stuff.
And we have an official Air Force investigation that concluded. Unknown. They couldn't crack it.
Right. It's the persistence of those physical questions, the marks on the ground, that really keeps this case relevant and debated even today.
It's fascinating how those traces, just some burnt patches and holes in the dirt, can anchor such an extraordinary story. They almost dare you to explain them.
They really do. They kind of force us to think about what constitutes proof and what happens when the physical world shows signs of something we don't readily understand.
It absolutely does. And it makes you, the listener, think, how much weight do you personally give to physical evidence like this? Especially when it's tied to such a strange sighting by a credible witness, a sighting authorities couldn't easily explain.
A question with no easy answer.
That is the end of this episode. Until next time. Keep to the shadows. Some legends are best left undiscovered.